Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be why men who act like women get rejected. I've got an email. This is from a guy. I kind of feel like sometimes I feel like a broken record, but here's yet another guy. He came across my work, read 3% Man. He read it twice, once in 2019 and once in 2020. And then this year, around March, early March, he met, because it's 2022 now, met a girl he really liked. And things went well for the first few weeks. And then he started reverting back to his old ways, started asking a female coworker for dating advice, which he followed. And then obviously, once things started really going sideways and he got blown off, he went back to 3% Man, recognized, damn, I basically turned into a woman, and started acting totally feminine, especially with the advice he got from the woman who he was one of his coworkers. And so now he's wondering, is there any chance to make things work? And on top of that, he went and watched a review video that somebody did on my 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back, and he wrote this long, drooly kind of message, because part of the problem is he put this girl on a pedestal and basically became her emotional tampon. And it's so predictable that she lost interest because he stopped acting like a man. And this is typical what happens of guys. He recognizes he fell into old patterns, but you'll see it's like things start off well, you're like, wow, looks good. And then as soon as he started caring, he went right back to his old self because he never spent the time learning the material. And if you guys have been following me for a while, always the best success stories are from guys that read the book 10, 15, 20 times or more. These are serious students. They learn the material. Same thing when I do phone sessions. A lot of times, like I talked to a guy yesterday, he's hadn't even read the book once, and he's trying to keep his family together. It's like, you got to learn the materials. You can't cherry pick a few things from videos here and there and expect to turn things around when you're still acting like a chick, basically. Because it ruins the sexual polarity. It's our differences that attract men and women to one another. The feminine woman feels more feminine and safe and comfortable to be feminine when she's with a masculine guy. And the more feminine the guy acts, the more masculine she has to act to make up for his lack of masculinity. And then they become like roommates. They become totally turned off. And so it's a good email because you can really see how she goes from high interest, increasing interest, and then it just kind of drops off a cliff, and he doesn't realize it until it's too late. So the goal is to use this video newsletter and this email as what not to do. So he says, hi, Coach Corey. Thank you for all you do. I read your book in 2019 and again in 2020. I put a card in the book to read it at least 10 times and the dates that I read it. Now I understand that reading it twice was not enough. Come on, man. It says right in the beginning of all my books, 10 to 15 times. It even explains why you read it 10 to 15 times. You're only going to retain things about 8 to 10%. And I had another guy I was talking to the other day, doing a phone session with. Same thing. He read it a few times, started getting some great success and great results. Very smart, high IQ type of guy. Very successful. I don't need to read it 10 to 15 times. And he's having all these problems because he's now dating a woman he really likes, and he's second-guessing himself constantly because he has something to lose now. Same thing, pointing out to him, just in the phone session, was just constantly pointing out things that he was doing and saying that he didn't even realize they were coming out in his own self-talk, because this is what I listen for when I'm talking to people. They don't realize it, but their limiting beliefs come right out, and I can point them out and how their mindset is screwing them up, and how reading 3% Man 10 to 15 times helps to undo that. Because if you only read it a handful of times, then you start kind of acting robotic because you're trying to think, what's the right line? What's the right thing to say? Do I just ignore? Do I not call her back? And everything becomes a game of manipulation instead of being instinctual, seeing how she responds, seeing what she says, and then responding appropriately. He says, fast forward to March of 2022, and I dated this girl I met online. We went on dates every weekend for about 5 weeks, and in weeks 1 to 3, or 1 date per week, and weeks 4 to 5 were around 2 times a week when she started to pursue me. So far, so good. She still should have been, by week 4 or 5, they should have been seeing each other about 3 times a week. And that's assuming that it's a normal, healthy woman and that he's following the book to a T, but obviously we know that he didn't. He says, we really hit it off, and her attraction level was up to an 8, but I was not cognizant of it falling down to a 7, then a 6 on week 5. I fell back into old patterns. I also took advice from a female coworker, which ended up backfiring because it portrayed feminine energy. Come on, man. You should not, it even says in 3% Man, don't take dating advice from a woman. Something that's comical to me is a lot of the videos I've done. You guys may have seen some of the ones where Jennifer has been in some of the videos. And Jennifer knows my work. She's taught both of her daughters a lot of this stuff. But yet when I ask questions, a lot of times, and the guys that really know my work have pointed it out in the comments, that it's like she kind of reverts back to acting like a chick, doesn't think in terms of logically what is in the book. And she just starts talking and thinking like a woman would think. And I'll call her out on certain things, and then she'll laugh at me pointing that out. But as immersed as she's been in my work as a woman, she's edited all my books, including 3% Man, listened to it a bunch of times, has watched hundreds, probably actually done thousands of videos at this point and articles, and yet still as a woman, she just goes naturally to where she is. And so if a woman who's studied my work that much and knows it well enough, but then you start asking her something, especially about her own life, she reverts back to thinking like a woman thinks. And that's why it's when you look back over the last 100 years or so, it's been so hard, especially Sigmund Freud couldn't figure out women. He says, the one question I have not been able to answer in my life is, what does a woman want? It's because when you're asking women for advice, they don't understand how attraction works. Even when they've studied my work, they still struggle to explain it and give proper advice to a guy. He says, it ended 2 weeks ago, and I haven't spoken to her since, and it prompted me to read your book for a 3rd time. I realized I made all these mistakes. We would talk on the phone daily, 30 minutes to an hour. That's one of the big things in the book, because if you spend all your time talking on the phone, what's the point of getting together in person? She knows everything that's been going on. You basically become the gay male girlfriend or her emotional tampon over the phone. So if she's calling you, you should be making dates to get together, and so you can talk and hang out, have fun, and hook up in person. He says, it took the anticipation away from the weekend dates. I would share a lot of personal information, which took away the mystery. Me personally, I don't want to talk on the phone forever, and I also don't like texting. I don't want to sit and text. I'm a busy dude. I got things I got to do. I got things to do, places to go, and people to see. And I make appointments, and I keep them. I don't have time to chit-chat or send a gazillion texts back and forth. And guys that do that, all they end up doing is talking women out of liking them. Especially the younger guys think, oh, you don't understand, coach. My generation, this is what we do. I was like, yeah, that's why you got blue balls. He says, I would talk about our future together, which ensured we did not have a future together. I made it very clear to her how I felt about her, which lowered her attraction level. When she started to pull away on week 5, I began to call her more. Yeah, this guy just totally came unglued. All cringeworthy. I appeared weak. I was not in my masculine. Eventually, she texted me. Here's what she said. I've been feeling different lately, and I think I've come to the conclusion that I am no longer in a position to really be dating. What she's really saying is, I'm just not in a position to be dating you, bruh. I think you're great. It's just not the right time for me. So women don't want to hurt your feelings. But the reality is she doesn't recognize that his behavior is what's totally turned her off. She says, oh, it's just not the right time. She doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And so guys that don't know any better hear stuff like that and they go, oh, it sounds logical and reasonable. And he says, I understand. Thank you for this gift. Come on, man. You could tell what happened is he really liked this girl and pedestalized her and started kissing her ass and treating her like a celebrity. And guess what? She treated him like a fan. And she says, I appreciate that. Thank you as well, with a little smiley face emoji. Since then, I started going on dates with other women, but they are just not as attractive as her. I did not communicate to her if she changes her mind to call me. I read your article, 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back, and this YouTuber, Your Wingman, reviewed your video and suggested that I send her a message like this. I don't know who that is, but this message is fucking vomit-inducing. So the idea is what 3% Man does is to help you display your natural masculine qualities that women are naturally drawn and attracted to, even when they say they're not attracted to it. The bottom line is they're this way. Just like in one of the videos, Jen's like, oh, I like nice guys. I was like, she hadn't dated one fucking nice guy. They all got fucking friend zoned and blue balls from her, but she's like, oh, I like nice guys. And like, how many videos on nice guys getting rejected have I done over the last 7, 8 years she's been working for me? I like nice guys. But I called her out on it, and she's like, yeah, you're right. I haven't gone out with any nice guys. Don't ask women for advice. And so here's the message, this Your Wingman, who reviews the video, and obviously is a fucking amateur. This is the message. You know what? I am sorry for being a needy, insecure idiot. I realized that it was such a major turnoff. I did a lot of things that a female friend told me to do, and I realized it was a mistake not being myself. If you want to give it another go and keep it light and fluffy, then I would like to. If not, then I completely understand. Have a good life, and I wish you the best. That sounds like a fucking chick wrote that. These people with these fucking garbage takes. But so what leads him to go and watch this video or that video? It's because he's cherry picking. He's just not following the things that work. He's looking for the quick, easy fix. And what happened was he totally screwed up something that he could have completely avoided. And the reality with dating new women, it's going to take time until you find somebody you really click with. Because if every day you could fall in love with a new person or meet a new best friend, we'd all be a bunch of psychopaths. We wouldn't be attached to anybody. We wouldn't have any close relationships. And that's what's beautiful about life is good people that are good to you, good for your soul, they almost never come along. And it's really not until you're older and you have life experience and you've been through a few ups and downs of your life that you realize who's really on your team and who really cares and who really sticks it out with you decade after decade. But when you're young, you don't know any better. And when I look at my demographics, like my YouTube channel, 25 to 35 is the majority of the age of the people that are following me. And so people that young, especially the 25-year-olds, it's like they're barely out of college and barely have a few years of living on their own, hopefully. And so they just don't have the life experience to recognize this. You know, when I was in my early 20s, a lot of people who were in my life, I thought were my friends. We all went to high school together. And as I got older, I realized that very few of them were on my team. And now at 52, I can count them on one hand that are good, tight friends, that if things ever went bad for me, I could pick up the phone and call them. But you don't realize that until you get older. He says, is it a good idea to send this message or not? Come on, man. Does anything in that message sound masculine? It sounds like a fucking... You're still kissing her ass and like, ooh, please pay attention to me, Your Highness. Ooh, please pay attention. Please pick me. It's a bad way to go, my man. I wouldn't do anything. What's done is done. Even when your goodbye message, thank you for this gift, Your Highness, I'm not worthy. And she probably dry heaved when she fucking read that message. Chalk it up to experience. I mean, at the end of the day, if she starts to regret it, she'll reach back out. And then invite her to your house. Follow what 7 Principles Get an Ex Back. The article that I read and wrote in the video that I did, not this fucking Your Wingman douchebag who tells you to write a groveling, ass kissy. Oh, God, it's so fucking vomit inducing, but whatever. He says, I think I ended it maturely with, I understand, thank you for this gift, which, like I said, was vomit inducing, and walked away, but I still can't get over her. Well, it's only been a matter of weeks, dude. It's probably going to take several months, maybe 6 months to get over it, because it's going to sting. Because you liked her. You cared. You got a little attached. And that's what happened. You had your composure in the beginning, and then when you started to care, like the client I was talking about earlier, that had only read my book a couple of times, and he'd been following me for a couple of years as well, it's like, when you really start caring, you get attached, then you revert back to your old ways because you're now afraid of losing her and you're trying to force things. And all that does is cause a downward spiral. I finished reading the book the third time and I know where my faults are. I plan on reading it 10 to 15 times. Well, if you're a serious student and you don't want to have these problems anymore, you'll read it 10 to 15 times. But if you're lazy, you'll read it once or twice. You'll start dating a new girl. Things will go well. And you're like, I got it. I made mistakes first time around. Won't this time. I'll be good. And then what happens is months down the road, like I was trying to press upon this other client, was dating this woman he really liked. And out of all the women he's dated last several years, it's the only one he really liked. I said, it won't matter for 4 or 5 months until you get into the thick of things in a relationship. And if you don't take the time to read it 10 to 15 times, when you need those relationship skills, you're not going to know it, and then you'll fuck it up, and you'll totally turn her off, and then you'll literally chase her right out of your life and turn her off. She won't feel heard and understood, and eventually it will be done. But pain is life's change agent. When you hit the wall with things like this, that's when you realize the way you've been approaching things is not the right way to go about it. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.